In today's video, we're going to show you how you can lease your properties fast, sell your properties for a premium without really doing much work. No investors are really doing this. Let's dive in. We're speaking with Mitch Pater today, who is honestly one of the most inspiring people that I personally follow on Instagram. The guy is a buy and hold investor who's successful as well as a fix and flipper. And the one thing he does a million times better than I do is his properties look really cool and stand out, but he's not over rehabbing. Let's hop into this interview.
Really, it's been kind of like a flow of me looking at other people's stuff, right? So a lot of Instagram feeds show like these cool dynamic Airbnb styles, tiny homes, all these different things, right? So I along with everything that I do, I'm just looking at other people and then trying to implement those things into my workflow. Now, figuring out ways to do that on a budget, so to speak, or things to, still obviously turn a profit is a whole nother deal. But I was trying to do those little touches that kind of separate you from everyone else, right? So it's doing the tall baseboards, just little things add up, and those things have really set me apart, I guess, in that. Just like anything in life, you don't want to really look like everyone else. So for me, it was like, how do I look different? How do I create a rental that people are like fighting over? If I can get people lined up at the door wanting to rent from me, one, they're going to stay longer. Two, they're going to be happy to call that home. And then three, hopefully I have less turnover. And the way that we do this is probably like a lot of you guys is you're doing the BRRRR model. So why not do the BRRRR model, but with the intention of improving this for the long haul, but make it look good too? And so that's a good question. It's kind of picking and choosing styles and paint colors that you think are gonna be there for a little bit. And that's something that we focus on. I kind of come from the video background, so I have a creative eye to begin with. But you can learn that too. So just by going on Instagram and looking at people that have cool houses, and one thing we're going to talk about is polls too, is getting people involved, outside people involved on.
Let's hop into that. What do you do with that? How do you do it?
Yeah. So on our Porch Light Instagram, we're basically putting out content to show before and afters of our work. And this builds trust with our private lenders, right? They're seeing, hey, this guy's doing what he says he's doing. He's creating good work. We want to work with someone like that, and then, hey, they're stoked to see that we flipped this house around and it's beautiful. So there's that. And then we use the poll feature within Instagram to kind of obviously have engagement with our people, but also to give us feedback. Like, what do they think looks better, right? And so when you're utilizing that, they feel like they're involved. They feel like, hey, like, I like that color better than this color. And so it's kind of a combination of engagement, but also learning from other people. What do they think looks better, right? Like hardwood versus vinyl plank. People will go crazy about that topic.
And and the pictures you're typically using, like to compare on these, is that content you're pulling from Instagram pages you like that put out nice stuff, correct?
Yes, exactly. We're looking at the farmhouse versus the modern style, and right, like what do you guys like better? And that's just really engagement there. But then I'm looking at other people's little mini Airbnbs, and we're picking and choosing. Oh, do we do a ladder in ours?
Yeah.
We just did a rehab where we have like a little book nook with like a wire railing, and I was thinking about doing glass, but I was like, then I got to clean the glass, right? This wire stuff looks good. So I'll run a little poll on that. What would you rather have in yours, right? And I'm just taking feedback from people, but also implementing what I think looks good too.
I'll be super honest in that I see your polls, and as somebody who is god awful at design, I try to guess right. Like, I'm like, which way would most people go? And then it's like, when I get it right, I'm like, yes, I know something. And when I get it wrong, it's like, oh crap, he's seen now that I've gotten it wrong.
Oh,
But
the,
I love that you're using social media for a purpose. Like, you know, I think I'm as guilty as anybody else of hopping on and scrolling and not really getting anything out of it, but you've found ways. I mean, you're not in a super expensive market, right?
no,
What's
no.
your median price point? Like 150, 200?
Yep, exactly.
So I
Yeah.
mean, you're like Indianapolis. I think if any tenant had the choice between one of your rentals and one of mine, they're going to pick yours because
Yep.
mine are your typical Midwestern rental where the carpet's tan and the walls are the cream color and the trim is the same color as the ceiling. It's kind of that two-tone, very like American Homes for Rent industrial rental. And I think you're really onto something where like people are more likely to stay and less likely to leave when it kind of has that like cutesy Pinteresty vibe. I mean, I know if I'm a, you know, if I'm a guy and let's say I get a girlfriend or get married and the house is like super cute and super homey, you're a lot more likely to stay for maybe another year or two than if it's like, hey, this looks like every other rental in town. We want like a home to start a family in.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I've gotten some students in one of my downtown rentals, and they walked in and they're like, "We love it, like it's done." And they have been some of my best residents that we have right now. Is like they take care of it because they like it, right? So if it looked less quality, right, how are they going to treat that? More than
Mm.
likely, they're just going to bang crap around. You know, if you got a nice product, you're going to feel more apt to take care of it, keep it up to date, or keep it somewhat clean, right? So yes, I think there's a lot of weight, and if you're already doing the rehab, why not just go a little bit? Just think a little bit longer term here, right? Like my vision is always, can I improve this and hold it for as long as I possibly can? I have no intention of I want to ditch this after 2 years,
Yep.
So I think it's more of a strategy that works for me. And I think a lot of people, if they just take a little bit of time to add that touch, you'd be like, okay, well, that was worth it.
Pardon this interruption. A couple people have told us down in the comments that I talk too much with my hands, but if you're enjoying this video, please like as well as subscribe. We're putting a ton of effort into this channel and would love your help in helping it take off. Back to where we were. I would say in hindsight, that's probably my biggest regret with a lot of my portfolio is that it all looks the same and it doesn't necessarily have that like, wow, this is super cutesy or super, homey. And I also think not only can you probably get a premium because it's somewhere where somebody's going to feel good and want to be, I think now more than ever, that's going to be more important,
Yeah.
with COVID and people transitioning to working from home instead of necessarily being at an office. They want to be somewhere that they wake up and feel like, this feels good,
Yep.
not like a boxy rental in the hood that looks like every other rental on Craigslist for $600.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, my strategy is to provide a nice product so I attract good tenants and that hopefully they stay because they like it. So there's so many positive results that come with that. And so for me, that's the best thing. I want a good tenant in a good area and that they stay for as long as I possibly can have them stay. So
Are you cool with sharing some of the pages you follow, like off camera, where I can drop them in the comments?
oh yeah, of
Sweet.
course. Yeah.
We'll throw those down below for anybody watching this. That way, like they don't have to go try to troll pages. You can just give us a couple
Yeah.
of your favorites. All right, so let's kind of do this. If somebody's watching this and they're like me, where all their stuff is kind of homely and kind of looks the same, what are like the 3 things that you would recommend they change from that typical like two-tone tan carpet scheme that every other buy and hold investor does?
I mean, that's a good question. I think it's going to be probably in the kitchen or bathroom, and those things, it could be small. It could be like a modern vanity with a cool looking different backsplash. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, that goes very far. Or like a different looking butcher block, and which is cheap, by the way. So that,
Have
throw a
you
nice.
have you had any issues with maintenance on the butcher block? I've heard that you have to like we just did it on a flip, but it's a
Yeah.
$600,000 house. Have you had any issues
Right.
with it?
Not yet.
Okay.
But
Time will tell.
yeah, Yeah. I think that one, I wouldn't do that at every one.
Okay.
So pick and choose where it's at, who's going to be there. Um, Family versus, a student rental, I, choose differently on that, right? So different areas with different people and different residents is also going to speak to how you want to renovate too. Just like any other deal where you don't want to go over and above in a not so nice area, right? Because you're not going to get that good tenant anyway.
Yeah.
So just be kind of, aware of how nice you're going and where it's at. But we focus on buying in good areas that have good residents, and I mean, you can't go wrong when you do those things. And if you provide a good quality, product, you're going to get a good quality tenant.
So it sounds like potentially doing something fun in like the kitchen or bath.
Yep.
I'll give you that. That's two. Give me one other, like,
Yeah.
if Mitch goes into a project, what's the one thing you do on every house?
Fixtures go a long way too. Just kind of that modern, like updated look, So I
Not like the, for lack of a, not like the nipple lights.
yeah,
for
yeah,
lack of
yeah,
a
yeah.
better
The
term.
blue lights, yeah. Yeah, I stay away from that type of stuff because that's what you see in every other rental. And now it may be a little bit cheaper, right? My lights are going to cost a little bit more, but I'm going to refinance that out anyway. Like when I go to refinance that, not only the residents love it, but I've gotten so many people to come back to me like, "Wow, that looks ridiculously nice." Like my appraised value is going to come in higher now, right? So you got to make sure you're doing it with a strategy too. You don't just go in there and blow a bunch of money. So paint, flooring, fixtures. I mean, I can make a house look different than anyone else with just those things. Now, yeah, you can throw some different touches in the bathroom and the kitchens, but like my house here, it's actually a house hack. It's a burr. I have an
Baller.
Airbnb. I have an Airbnb on site. Like, I turned a single family home into 3 income streams. But we did a hex on the backsplash, white Menards cabinets, and an island, which looks like. I mean, if I could, I'll show you some photos. But it's
Cool. We'll
beautiful.
throw them up.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I did it for relatively cheap. And like, when I leave here, I'm gonna go find something else, and then I'll rent this out. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, where did you get that hex back?" So just spend a little bit of time, and I think it's gonna pay off.
Yeah, I love what you're touching on. Ryan Pineda, I think is how you pronounce that. Somebody who I recently started following on Instagram, and he had a post about flippers of anybody can over rehab a property, make it look
Yeah.
really nice. At the end of the day, what matters is, are you actually making money or not? And to your credit, I mean, that's one thing you're doing very well. You're not over rehabbing, but I would say you're outclassing. Like, and I think that's kind of what you want. If I'm a tenant
Yep.
looking through a sea of rental properties, and one of them looks like something out of, Pinterest or Home and Garden, and all of the others look like the same property owned by, the same Scrooge McDuck, I'm probably going to try to go for the nicer modern one, even if it's 10%, 15% more money.
Yep. Yeah, you couldn't be more right. I think it stands out. Every one I do, people are like, "Wow, that's really nice." Like,
Dude,
and
I'd live in one of your houses.
yeah, they don't balk at that higher price. I come in, I'd say, average rents around, let's just say a 3-bed, 2-bath in this area are like 1,250, right? Like I could come in at 1,400 easily and get that knowing that I have a nicer product. They're like, "Wow, you got, like, this is gorgeous."
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. In closing, if you were going to if you're somebody watching this and let's say they don't own their first rental yet, what's like the one lesson you've learned that you wish you could have learned earlier?
It's a good question. I think there's a lot of, oh man, there's so much to learn when you become a landlord. I would follow what I did, which is become the landlord, but also be the property manager at first. Now, don't do that forever, but you learn so much. So when you go to hand it over to a property management company, I think that's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of things that you understand. So that's a good one. Um, Gosh, I think communication is huge. Communicating with your residents, how you plan, and then the lease, of course. That's one thing I've dialed in over time, right? I've changed. Hey, you can't just add structures into our rentals. It's not how it works.
Yep.
So I think there's a combination. It's a lot of just learning how to be a good landlord.
Cool. So sounds like get out there, do it.
Yeah.
Kind of be the guy for at least the first couple to kind of get the hang of what's working, what's not.
Yeah, I'm kind of a person that I have to do it. You could teach me everything in the world, but I have to go out there and do it myself and get my hands dirty a little bit, and then it sets in, and it's like, okay, how do we pivot from here? How do we grow, become better, implement systems, and do all those things to have a better business?
That's awesome. So how can people reach out to you? How can we give value back to you for you giving it to us?
Oh gosh, geez. Oh man. I mean, I'm on Instagram. I'm posting if anything, you can go to my Instagram and check out some of the before and afters. And a lot of what I'm doing is I'm building an image that or at least my goal is that I'm building an image of, I want to build trust with strangers. I want them to come to my page and say, wow, he's actually doing the work. He's not just, raising capital to go plop it into some random, buy and hold that doesn't, produce. But I'm building trust. I'm building rapport with strangers. I've had people reach out to me and say, hey, Mitch, how do I get involved in what you're doing? Like, I just want to be a part of what you're doing. You're fixing up neighborhoods. You're improving the area, right? You're offering homes to people that are nice and above and beyond these other people. We got a lot of work to do, and I'm kind of getting into the multifamily space now and trying to learn that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, lots of growth. Yep.
Awesome, dude. I appreciate you joining us. I think this is super helpful, but I think it's also super unique. You don't typically hear people in kind of the buy and hold world talking about making properties look nice. A lot of the time it's like cash flow and getting good deals. And I think you've really proven that this is an easier business to run when your assets are nicer.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us, man.
Hey, thank you so much.
I'm absolutely honored that I've got guys like this that are willing to hop on for basically video podcasts like this. If this is stuff you're enjoying, please subscribe. That lets us know we should keep going, right? Like, if we don't hear from you, it's kind of like, what's the point? Be sure to like and subscribe. And as always, if you found this helpful, please share it with your friends or maybe your team. Talk to you guys next time.